confession to make. I'm seeing other church people. This month, I will actually speak at 3 different churches on 3 different Sundays, which is unusual for me. I also want to share a story with you. Recently, I spoke at Open Arms Metropolitan Community Church in Portland. And a group of us gathered after lunch. As Keith and I approached the restaurant, I heard a very familiar voice in the distance. "Oh, would you like to join us?" And I quickly said, "Oh, we're meeting other people." Awkward. I felt immediately embarrassed at how that might have sounded, followed by feelings of anxiousness and hesitance, and also grateful for the invitation. So many feelings moving, and as that meal and conversations progressed, I visited both tables, both groups, and was there when Reverend Preston and the NCC folks. I felt amazed and delighted by the connection with so many remarkable people that afternoon and food. And I am so grateful to be here this morning. If you told me years ago that I would be standing in front of a crowd of people talking about vulnerability, I would have laughed. But here we are. This morning our topic is seeing and being seen. And I am feeling nervous. That's always there a bit. But I also know that this is a receptive and supportive audience. It's a receptive and supportive group of people. And a disclaimer, this is not a group therapy session or a therapy session for me. Hopefully you will find some useful reminders as we explore these questions this morning. What ways can we allow ourselves to be seen? What ways can we support others in their efforts to be seen? And what is the role of clear communication play in creating this space of vulnerability? And how can that openness transform a community? This morning I invite you to affirm with me, I am courageous and compassionate. Together, I am courageous and compassionate. And one more. I allow myself to see and be seen. I allow myself to see and be seen. So I'm a Jesus person. Jesus of Nazareth entered Jericho, a town in the valley between the Jordan River and Jerusalem. Zacchaeus, the head tax collector and a rich man, was trying to see the master teacher. And because of his short stature, he could not see over the crowd, so he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore tree. When Jesus came to the tree, he looked up and said, "Zacchaeus, hurry and come down. I have to stay at your house today." And he hurried down and welcomed him. All who saw this began to grumble and said, "He's going to spend the day with a sinner." Zacchaeus stood his ground and said, "Look, Lord, I'll give half of what I owe to the poor, and if I have extorted anything from anyone, I'll pay back 4 times as much." So let's explore the context of this story that you may remember from Sunday school. I hear that song in my head. In contrast to the empire of the day, the pursuit of the early Christian community was with impoverished and the oppressed. And this legend, written after Jesus' life, is found only in the book of Luke. It's like the story of the tax collector in Mark. Above the crowd, Zacchaeus could see Jesus. Jesus perceives Zacchaeus' heart, his resolve and sincerity. Zacchaeus, whose name means purified and just, is first portrayed as a corrupt man who offers to change in order to join Jesus' circle. So how was Jesus of Nazareth courageous and compassionate? He chose to be vulnerable both with his emotions and security. He wept. He toppled tables in anger. He took risks, wandering through Palestine as a teacher and healer, sharing a radical view of God and criticizing the authorities. Sounds risky to me. Jesus chose connection too. Socializing with tax collectors, fishermen, and outcasts shows his goal of community. And the tales about Jesus suggest an open heart, wide open. Jesus listens and sees the divine within Mary, Peter, Martha, Lazarus, John, and so many others, and invites them into a new way of life, a divine way of life. So what does the science of mind point of view about the divine? Ernest Holmes, in the Declaration of Principles, called God the living Spirit Almighty. He suggested that the manifest universe is the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. We are manifestations of that living Spirit. We possess what psychologist Thomas More calls spiritual emotions. The longing for meaning, concerns about ethics, creative desires, and curiosity about ongoing life. And yet we are also human beings with that full range of emotions, anger and sadness and apathy and joy and love. We also share common needs for safety, integrity, hope, and choice, and so many more. This morning, we're exploring using vulnerability as a tool for connection. Now, we might think of it as a weakness, being exposed to attack or harm, or people simply wondering what we're doing. We may also see this openness as our willingness to show emotions. Either way, it involves risk, but we need not be vulnerable to every single person. I'm not going to be emotionally vulnerable to the bodybuilder at the gym or the auto technician. Probably not. This morning, we're considering community, any spiritual or social group with common characteristics and goals. That means you this morning. How is your community using courage and compassion to thrive? So who is Justin Pearson? He became a Tennessee State Representative and a community organizer at the age of 28. During college, he attended a summer public policy institute at the Princeton School of Public and International Affairs, and he earned a degree in government and legal studies. You heard about him in the last few weeks. When he learned about the shooting in Nashville that killed 9-year-olds and school employees, he listened and connected to the community. And he spoke up for stricter gun control. After not following the rules of decorum came retribution. The legislature expelled Pearson and fellow Representative Justin Jones. Just days after the expulsion, the two were reappointed. Pearson shared his perspective for the New York Times. I wasn't elected to be pushed to the back of the room and silenced. We who were elected to represent all Tennesseans, black, white, brown, immigrant, female, male, poor, young, transgender, and queer, are routinely silenced when we try to speak on their behalf. Last week, the world was allowed to see it in broad daylight. Maybe